Hello friends, this is Shantanu and now we are going to start the 9th chapter of GST, that is the value of supply. And this is the second most important chapter of GST after the time of supply chapter. So before we start our chapter, first try to understand the concept behind the value of supply. So if this is a supplier, suppose he is a supplier and he has supplied goods or services to another person who is the recipient of the goods or services, then normally it is the job of the supplier to collect the GST from the recipient and deposit the same GST to the government. Now GST rates are there and this GST rates will be applied on the value of a taxable supply. So whatever he has supplied, उसका आपको value निकालना है, value of supply you have to find out, and on that value of supply the rate of GST will be applied. For example, suppose the value of taxable supply is 10,000 rupees and the GST applicable on the supply is 18%. So 18% का यहाँ पे मतलब है, let's say 9%, that is the CGST, and 9% is the SGST. So total 18%. So here the supplier will apply this 18% on the value of supply, that is on 10,000. So if you apply 18% on 10,000, you will get 1800 as GST. And if you bifurcate it further, it will come 900 as CGST and 900 as SGST. So with this example, you can understand the importance of value of the supply and on which you have to apply the GST rate. In this chapter, we are going to discuss how to find out the value of supply. So as per section 15 of the CGST Act, it says that the value of taxable supply under GST means the transaction value. So first thing is quite clear from section 15. It says that value of taxable supply means the transaction value. Now further, they have defined the term transaction value. This is very important and you have to understand. Transaction value means the price actually paid or payable for the said supply of goods or services or both, where the supplier and the recipient of the supply are not related. This is also very important. So both supplier and recipient of supply, these are unrelated, you can say. Not related means these are unrelated. And where the price is the sole consideration for supply. So in our example, we can see that supplier has supplied the goods and he has charged a price of 10,000 rupees. Now whether this 10,000 rupees of price, can we take it as a transaction value or can we take it as a value of supply? For this, we have to check the other conditions mentioned under the transaction value. So first condition, we have already seen the price actually paid or payable for the said supply of goods or services or both. And second, we have to check the supplier and recipient of the supply are not related. So if supplier and recipient are not related, and another third condition, the price is the sole consideration for such supply. It means this 10,000 rupees of price for these goods or services, we can take it as a transaction value or value of supply if these two are not related and this price is the sole consideration for such supply. इसका मतलब इसके अलावा there is no other consideration which is flowing to the supplier for the supply. In short, the supplier is getting 10,000 rupees for such supply of goods or services and the supplier is not getting any other benefit, additional benefit from the recipient for such supply, then we can say that this 10,000 rupees of price is the sole consideration for this supply. Now, after understanding the definition of transaction value, we will also focus on the term consideration, what exactly consideration means. If you see the general meaning of the term consideration, it basically means whatever you get in exchange. Suppose this person has supplied some goods or services to another person, and in exchange of this supply, whatever this supplier will get, this will be called as consideration for the supply. Now let's check the act, that is the CGST Act, what it says about consideration. So it says that in relation to supply of goods or services or both, the consideration includes. So there are two things which are included in consideration. First, any payment made or to be made. So any payment, first thing they are covering the payment, and the second thing they are covering the monetary value. So first let's try to understand these two terms, monetary value and the payment. Payment means you are getting something in money, directly rupees or currency, and here in monetary value, when we say, it is not directly in money, but some benefit the supplier is getting, you have to check the monetary value of that benefit, and that will be treated as consideration. Now try to understand this concept clearly. Suppose this is a supplier, he supplies the car, so he's the dealer of car and he's supplying the car to the recipient. Recipient is a famous doctor. Now, as per the agreement between the supplier and the recipient, it was decided that the supplier will supply this car to the recipient for 2 lakh rupees. And apart from this 2 lakh rupees, this recipient, who is a famous doctor, he will have to operate the supplier. यानी supplier का एक operation due था, and this operation will be done by the recipient for free of cost, and the normal charges for that operation, let's say, amounts to 1 lakh rupees. So now you can see that there are both these components which are available in this deal. First, there is a payment of 2 lakh rupees, and another, there is some benefit the supplier is getting, that is he is getting operated by that recipient, and the monetary value of that act is 1 lakh rupees. So here the consideration will be the total of these two, that is the consideration will amount to 3 lakh rupees. Now let's try to see the definition in detail, or the provision in detail. So first they says that consideration includes any payment made or to be made, whether in money or otherwise, in respect of or in response to or for the inducement of the supply. So ये जो भी payment आपको मिल रहा है in money में या otherwise, it is because of the supply of goods or services or both. So it is directly related to the supply, and whether by the recipient or by any other person. This is very, very important. It is not necessary that the consideration should flow from the recipient only. Even the friend of recipient can make the payment to the supplier on behalf of recipient. Still, it will be treated as consideration. So the consideration need not be flown from the recipient only. It can flow from any other person also. And further it says that, but shall not include. It means the consideration shall not include any government subsidy given by the central government or state government. Now, subsidy is basically given by the government for those items which are valuable to the general public or which is very good for the welfare of the public. So, suppose there is a one supplier. This is one supplier who is supplying the solar power panels. Solar power के जो panels हैं, ये supply करता है, this supplier, and actual price of these solar panel, let's say, is 10,000 rupees. But the government is giving a subsidy of, let's say, 2,000 rupees to him for supplying these solar power or panel to general public. Now, it means 2,000 rupees he is getting a subsidy from the government. So, finally, he can supply these solar panels for 8,000 rupees to any recipient. So, if you see that 8,000 this supplier he will receive from the recipient and 2,000 the supplier will receive from the government as a subsidy. So, what will be the consideration here? It clearly says that any government subsidy will not be considered in the consideration. So, the consideration here will be treated as 8,000 rupees only. And on this also they can ask question in the exam whether the government subsidy given by the central government or state government will be included in the consideration. So, answer is no. Now, let's see the next part, that is second part. Consideration also include the monetary value of any act or forbearance in respect of, in response to, or for the inducement of the supply. So, this act or forbearance is directly linked to the supply of goods or services or both, whether by the recipient or by any other person. So, whether this act or forbearance is by the recipient or by any other person, it doesn't matter. Whatever is the benefit which will be received by the supplier because of this act or forbearance, it will be added to the value of consideration. So, here whatever act or any forbearance, you have to convert that into the money, and this monetary value of such act or forbearance will be added to the consideration, or you can say this will be treated as consideration. But again the same thing, but shall not include any government subsidy which is given by central government or state government. So, if such act or forbearance is done by the government in the form of subsidy, then it will not be included in the consideration. Now, let's talk about the deposit, whether deposit will be treated as consideration or not. So, in many cases, you can see that whenever supplier supplies the goods to any person, let's say this recipient, supplier demands some deposit. Let's say supplier has demanded 15,000 rupees from the recipient as the deposit. It may be for the security reason or whatever may be the case. It is not the price, but he has demanded the deposit so that he can supply the goods or services to the recipient. So, as per law, this deposit will not be treated as the consideration for supply unless the supplier applies such deposit as a consideration for the said supply. To understand this, we can take one example. Suppose this supplier has supplied some goods to this recipient on the condition that recipient should deposit 50,000 rupees with him. Now, suppose the supplier has supplied goods of 80,000 rupees and the recipient has only paid 30,000 rupees. So, in such case, the supplier can forfeit this deposit, or you can say the supplier will utilize this deposit towards the consideration to make it total 80,000 rupees. So once the supplier treats such deposit or applies such deposit towards the consideration due from the recipient, the moment he applies, it will be treated as the consideration. So final thing is that mere deposit of money kept with the supplier will not be treated as consideration. However, if the supplier applies that deposit towards the consideration, then such deposit will be treated as consideration. Now further, you have to remember that the value of supply will always include these 5 cases. So we will see each case one by one. First case, they says that any taxes, duties, cess, fees or charges levied under any law एक्सेप्ट जीएसटी, तो जीएसटी तो इंक्लूड नहीं होगा कंसिडरेशन में, बट अपार्ट फ्रॉम जीएसटी एनी अदर लॉ में कोई टैक्स लगा है, ड्यूटी लगी है, सेस, फीस या चार्जेस हैं, दोज थिंग्स विल बी इंक्लूडेड इन द वैल्यू ऑफ सप्लाई. For example, this supplier has supplied the goods to the recipient and the price or invoice says that 10,000 is the price of goods plus there is a tax by the local body, it amounts to 1,000 rupees. Then there is a certain duties which amounts to 100 rupees. Then there is a cess of 50 rupees, whatever may be the cess under any law. Then there is a fees of, let's say, 40 rupees. There are other charges or packing charges or whatever you may name it of 10 rupees. So the consideration here will include all these things plus this 10,000. But the GST payable on that will not be included in the value of supply. Now the second case, they says that any amount that the supplier is liable to pay. Suppose supplier was having a bill of mobile to be paid by the supplier and this the value of bill was 3,000. So 3,000 rupees mobile bill was supposed to be paid by the supplier. But this liability of 3,000 rupees is discharged by the recipient of the supply separately towards this supply. So because the supplier is supplying these goods to the recipient is ready to pay 10,000 plus whatever charges are there, and also recipient is discharging the liability of supplier, that is of 3,000 rupees, which is not included in the price. So this liability discharged by the recipient of the supplier will also be part of the value of supply. So here 10,000 is the price, other taxes, charges, cess, levies, and 3,000 rupees of liability of the supplier discharged by the recipient will also be counted in the value of taxable supply. Third point, they says that all the incidental expenses including commissions, packing, charged by the supplier to the recipient of supply, and any amount charged for anything done by the supplier in respect of supply of goods or services or both at the time of or before delivery of goods or supply of services. So for example, suppose this supply also require certain packaging need to be done, and the cost of packaging is, let's say, 2,000 rupees. So this is an incidental to the supply, and this packaging cost will also be included in the value of supply. Now further, you have to remember here that whether the packaging cost was charged separately or within the bill, you have to note that whenever this packaging cost is related to the supply and it is charged by the supplier, then this packaging cost will always be included in the value of taxable supply. Next point says that the interest or late fee or penalty for delayed payment of any consideration for supply. Suppose this recipient has delayed the payment of consideration to supplier by, let's say, 90 days, and for that he has also paid 1,000 as the late fee. Now this late fee received by the supplier will also be treated as the value of supply. That is, it will be included in the value of supply. And the last point, you have to see it carefully. It says that subsidies directly linked to the price, which are directly linked to the price, excluding the subsidy provided by central government or state government. So as we have already seen, any subsidy which is provided by the central government or state government will not be treated as consideration and will not go into the value of supply. But apart from this, if the supplier receives any other subsidy which is directly linked to the price of the supply, or you can say the price of the goods, then it will be included in the value of supply. और इसके ऊपर भी क्वेश्चन आ सकता है कि सब्सिडी which is directly linked to the price, whether it will be treated or it will be counted in the value of supply or not. The answer is yes, provided this subsidy should not have been provided by central or state government. Now you have to see that the value of supply excludes the discount. Now this we can see in two parts. Discount provided before or at the time of supply. Suppose before or at the time of supply, the supplier has provided a discount. So the price of the goods were 10,000 and supplier has provided a discount of 2,000. So it becomes 8,000 only. So this is the discount which was provided by the supplier before or at the time of supply. If such discount has been duly recorded in the invoice, then this discount will not be counted in the value of supply. It means only 8,000 rupees will be treated as the value of supply. That is, discount will be excluded from the value of supply. Now let's see another case. If the supplier has given the discount after the supply, that is as per the established in terms of agreement and specifically which is linked to the relevant invoice. So suppose the supplier has supplied the goods and after the supply, the recipient has asked supplier to provide a discount of 2,000 and there is a specifically mention of the particular invoice of 10,000 rupees which was related to this supply, then in such cases the value of supply will not include this discount of 2,000 rupees offered by the supplier after the supply. But there is a condition, and the condition is that the input tax credit attributable to the discount have been reversed by the recipient. अब इसको आपको ठीक से समझना होगा. For simplicity, I am taking the rate of GST as 10% and the original price of the goods supplied as 10,000 rupees. So it means the supplier has supplied the goods to the recipient and the recipient was supposed to pay 10,000 rupees to the supplier. He was also supposed to pay 10% as the GST. So 10% comes to 1,000 rupees. Now since the recipient has paid 1,000 rupees as GST, 1,000 rupees of GST he can utilize as input tax credit. This input tax credit he can utilize for paying the GST liability. Now come to the discount portion. As we have already seen, after the supply, if there is a negotiation and the supplier is ready to provide a discount of 2,000 which is related to this supplier. So in the discount agreement it is mentioned and this discount is linked to the specific invoice of this supply. So the final value of supply will become 8,000 because discount has been provided, but consequently The input tax credit should also be reduced, because for 8,000, 10% will come 800. So the excess 200 rupees of input tax credit, this recipient will have to reverse it. So recipient, if reverse this input tax credit, then this discount of 2,000 rupees will not be counted for the value of supply. Now let's see the concept of related person, जिसके ऊपर क्वेश्चन आ सकता है एग्जाम में. At the start of this chapter, we have already seen the value of supply should be the transaction value, and transaction value is the price paid for the supply when supplier and the recipient are not related. So here they have defined when two persons will be treated as related. And if these two persons are related, that means when supplier and recipient are related, then the price charged for the supply, even if it is the sole consideration for that supply, cannot be treated as the transaction value, because the supplier and recipient are related persons. So now quickly see when two persons will be treated as related persons. So it says that person shall be deemed to be related persons if such persons are officers or director of one another's businesses. So if any person is the officer or director of another person's business, then these will be treated as related. Second, they says that such persons are legally recognized partner in a business. So there is a business, and for this business, these two persons are partners for this business. Third, they say such persons are employer and employee. So the relation between these two persons is of employer or employee. Fourth point says that any person directly or indirectly owns, controls or hold 25% or more of the outstanding voting stock or shares of both of them. So only one thing you have to remember, you have to count the voting, the shares or stock which carries the voting power. So 25% or more of the outstanding voting. If any person is directly or indirectly owns, control or holds, then these will be treated as related persons. Another point says that one of them directly or indirectly controls the other. So this is a person who directly or indirectly controls the other, then these will be treated as related person. Another point says that both of them are directly or indirectly controlled by a third person. So both of these are controlled directly, indirectly by third person. Then also these two will be treated as a related person. Another point says that these two together controls directly or indirectly a third person. So this third person is controlled directly or indirectly by these two persons together, then also these two persons will be treated as a related person. And lastly, it says that they are the members of the same family. So if these two belongs to the one family, that is these two are the members of the one family, same family, then also these will be related person.